All right, fellas, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. We continue on with our Bannerlord City and Castle Siege Defense series. We are going to defend Poros, this Imperial city. It's towards the south. We're going to be significantly outnumbered also, but just to keep things lively for this series, let's go ahead and change a few things. Instead of the defenders having a bunch of counter siege, let's give the attackers, we'll fill all four of these slots here so that we simulate that we're under a barrage, right? I want to keep things both lively in this series, but also try to help you with different scenarios. What do you do if you're under this kind of a bombardment? They have 3 catapults and a trebuchet. Are there differences between this and a normal siege? Now, to counteract that, to give us a little better chance or give the AI a little better chance here, we have 400 units. Now, we have weaker units. I've started doing this more for siege. A lot of times in siege, you're going to have militia. You're going to have recruits because there's a garrison there. And so not only are we outnumbered 2.5 to 1, but we also have lower level troops than the attackers. And of course, they're going to be bombarding us. Now, Poros, I think, has a secondary defense possible too. We've got a beautiful sunset here, although maybe we'll improve the light so you can see a little bit better for the following battles. I think you could probably see enough. Of course, you guys can always leave feedback on that. Now, what's the first obvious thing, right? Archers on the walls already have a problem, but then you have fire catapults and flaming rocks and things like that hitting them on the walls. One more vote, right, for keeping these guys off the walls. It's not going to go well, right? It's already a difficult thing. Your infantry, though, in the courtyard and or your archers are also at risk. So we will assess how to deal with that, and I will try to come up with some tips. Now, so far the AI is doing about a 1-to-1, but it's the secondary defense that I'm interested in. Besides this being a beautiful scene with a huge inner citadel, this city has a secondary defense. I don't think Tale World's meant for these to be defended. However, and I have done this before, those of you who watched the Aserai campaign may have some prickly feelings on the back of your neck. That is because we did have a secondary defense at this city, and it was amazing. I won't tell you the results. It was very close. I don't want to spoil it for those who are just watching the Aserai campaign, but it was an incredible experience. Now, secondary defense is not something that most Bannerlord players even know what that is. Here is the AI gets obliterated off the walls, all their infantry trying to defend the walls, and you get shelled, right? It's just not an option here as the AI defenses melt. A secondary defense, though, is where your troops fall back purposefully. You're going to have to do this as the commander. The AI won't do it. As the AI gets butchered here, to a spot where you can defend better than the opening at the gate and or the breaches on the walls. In other words, how castles were historically designed to be defended. There's a lot of room in this courtyard. I think we'll be able to design some defense structures here, some positioning of archers and infantry with some skirmishers to defend. But it is narrow here towards the gate, right? We would essentially simulate either a blowout or just a straight option, a choice to defend that secondary courtyard. All right, so first let's go ahead and design our units. I am going to design all 8 units, but it's important to remember for this whole series that once we set these units, there's really not a whole lot of movement of these units. What does that mean? That means even if you're new to Bannerlord and you're watching this, you really should be able to do most of this. Right now, I'll explain it. The 7th and 8th, we put to higher tiered troops using that little plus sign. You can click that tier preference. I'm also putting shields on that 6th division, and that is so that these guys are crossbow with that shield. I want that because in case I need those guys to act as infantry, at least they have a shield. Your average archer does not. Now, let's see, the 2nd division, we have so much infantry here because we have 400 troops. We can make a skirmisher division, and you get that by the shields and the javelin icon there. We've got, let's see, God, we have a ton of infantry first. So we'll make the 1st and 4th our heavy duty squares. We get that with the polearm and the shield button there. You could also put them to higher preference troops as well. We actually have so many troops here that I have like an abundance, almost an overloading of infantry. So square at the gate, the 1st division, slightly offset. We will align some archers to shoot the guys as they attack that square. Let's put 2 squares over here. This is where the siege tower is. That way it's extraordinarily buttressed against infantry coming down those stairs. We have the 3rd corps for these 2 stairs, although we may have to adjust. Depends on where the enemy comes from. I don't see a siege tower, so that's going to be, I think, siege ladders over there somewhere. Now the archers, for now, we're just going to spread them out towards the back. And the reason we're doing this is if you put them out in the open, in other words, kind of in a big glob out in the open, they're a lot more likely to get hit by trebuchets, siege weapons, fire catapults, right? When the enemy's shelling you like this, it's actually, it's much more difficult to put troops in the courtyard. Now I don't have enough room yet pre-battle to position those troops, so I'll have to do that after the battle starts. You could use that upper stairway there, but then they get attacked from the wall, so I'm going to skip that. The gate is a real problem, right? I can put a narrow line of guys there, but some of those guys won't be able to shoot at the gate. And again, if you're not familiar with our common strategy for siege defense, is you bottleneck the enemy on the stairs and pound them with javelins and arrows, right? Arrows, crossbow bolts. And it is extraordinarily effective. This is the way to defend cities in Bannerlord. I have not found a better way, and I have a lot of experience playing Bannerlord. Now, these guys are kind of in the way here. I'm going to blaze through this unless we're getting bombarded because we have a huge amount of defenders, and I want to try a secondary defense. But as long as these guys don't get bombarded, right, as long as you don't see flaming arrows pouring in there, not too worried about it, right? Now, you know, I can jam these guys up a little bit more with the shield wall, and they're less likely to be hit. You know, but you're watching. As a commander, if you're under siege, I don't actually know what they're shooting at. They have 3 catapults and a trebuchet, but the AI can't always be counted on to do logical things, right? A player here would be bombarding the shit out of your troops in the courtyard. Now, those guys are vulnerable, but I don't see any shots coming over. So for now, no concern. I'm actually really curious what they're even shooting at. I hear them blowing shit up. We have 1 catapult, and they might be shooting at our catapult. Of course, the AI is not usually guilty of extraordinary strategy here. Can't actually see where our catapult is. I better not get killed just standing up here. Now, the gate is my only concern with this city. Fans of the channel, frequent visitors of the channel who have already gotten their keep defense game on and are defending as well or better than we do on the channel know how successful this is, right? The AI, anybody really, a player would be fucked too. You come off those siege towers and there's 50 archers shooting at you. You try to charge down the courtyard and every single place is blocked up, right? It's basically rush hour with death combined, right? There's couple guys coming off there, and every single archer can pretty much see those guys, right? And so they get pounded with arrows. It's good to put your squares a little bit up the stairs. That way the enemy has no cover, right? They're basically exposed the whole time. Now these guys can't stay here. I can just tell you as a experienced commander, those guys will be attacked. I'll mention it once in a while. If your archers are too close to the square at the gate, they will be attacked. And the infantry will go right by your square and sick them. Now here, again, I want that square a little higher up. You see how the guys are disappearing behind our square? These little details are important. So I'm shoving that square up higher. Now everybody's visible here, right? All the guys with white, that's the enemy. Now we can drill them with javelins and arrows, right? And of course, the death spam reads accordingly, right? We're getting a 15 or 20 to 1 kill ratio. They're coming through the front gate. We have just enough room here, it looks like, for the archers to take care of these guys. And we're handling business. Now, I left the siege tower up. Of course, we didn't even try to man the siege. But I'll be honest, there's another strategy that's an odd strategy that you may want to employ in this situation. Do not destroy the siege tower. Now, why would you do that? Tactical enlightenment, it doesn't make sense. Why? You tell us to destroy the siege tower. There are exceptions, and this city, I would say, is an exception. Why? And that is because the front gate is not very easy to defend. If all of the enemy forces come through the front gate, our archers won't be able to kill them fast enough, and they will start to attack and kill your archers, right? Suddenly you're in a mess. It's an ironic situation where you want the enemy attacking you at 3 different locations, especially in this example since we have so many defenders. You're normally not going to have, well, I mean, sometimes, but oftentimes you won't have, 40% of the defenders as the attacker has. A lot of times in siege, you're outnumbered 6, 7, 8 to 1, and you have to obviously obtain a very high ratio of enemy deaths for your own deaths to win. Here, there's a lot less pressure. In fact, this just is an absolute breeze. I won't be surprised, in fact, if the AI routs soon. We've got an unbreakable siege defense going right here I've got 3 lines of archers there just spraying the enemy. The first division almost looks like it's unhurt. Now, if I was getting charged here, I would take that second division and shove it right in the square. Right, you basically close the door. All of a sudden, the enemy will just pour into the courtyard sometimes. If that happens to you, have a plan. Have a division of infantry. Archers don't work very well. Have a division of infantry that you're going to shove into the gate. And I don't mean attack. I don't mean charge. I mean pick them up like I've done here. I've just dragged the second over here. Push their guys back in the gatehouse. Say, this is our fucking city. Fuck you. And then, of course, once the gate is shut with your square, then you can attack with your other units. I've used the analogy before, though. If your house is flooding, make sure you stop whatever's causing it to flood before you clean up the water. Reset these guys here because they're not needed. The enemy's just sticking archers through. If they send just archers through, move your infantry away from the gate. That way they have to come into the courtyard and under the eye of all your archers. And this fucking siege is over. I thought this was going to be a lot harder, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to do a secondary defense anyways, and the best way to simulate that is to have a hole or two in the walls here. I mean, I'm like getting cocky. Now, this siege is for sure over. I think they just routed, and that was about as easy as it gets. I don't know if we suffered 30 casualties there. I mean, that was flat out a massacre. 26 casualties. And the whole enemy force routed. So let's go ahead and try this same thing, only let's do a single breached wall. So now there's a hole in the wall. This is a whole new situation. And again, actually, you guys don't need to see the sergeant. They already blundered their way through with just the gate. They lost, right? So let's not run the sergeant out there again. Let's not waste your time. Let's just go ahead and do our secondary defense here. Now, there's a couple different ways to do a secondary defense. And what I mean by that is you, the commander, a couple different ways, and I've got to be in charge, of course. Let's add more light. There's a couple different ways to do a secondary defense. The first is to have it be your plan from the get-go. Like right now, just pull everybody off the walls and run right to your location. That's usually not going to be the case unless you know it's a city like this where that'll be your plan. In this first attempt here, and I say attempt because I don't know if this will work. I narrate and film these live. Let's go ahead and try this as a normal defense, and then what we'll do is sort of simulate that we got cold feet, panicked, and decided to try to pull back. The reason it's harder to do that, of course, is that you have troops that are committed, troops that are being attacked. Very much harder to pull back once you have a normal defense layout, right? We're laying out our troops right now. We're going to put our archers and infantry in positions as if we were going to defend the outer walls here. And then what we're going to do is 2 minutes into it, give or take, I will make a decision. I mean, I've already made the decision, but we will enact the decision to pull back. Now, we've got this square over here. We can get good line of sight with archers. Fortunately, the hole here is on the courtyard where there's a ton of space. This mixed division, the second division, they will be able to pound the enemy there. Holes can be a much bigger problem than a gate. And the reason is because the enemy tends to ignore the infantry that's standing guarding the hole, so to speak. At the gate, they will almost always attack your infantry. At a hole, a lot of times they will simply ignore those guys and run past them, which means you must then attack those guys in melee. All right, let's see here. I got, what do I have? The 7th, 6th, 7th, and 8th still to assign. So the 6th skirmish, or the archer's crossbow, 7th. It doesn't matter too much, although I am thinking about retreating, so I do want a few of my better units towards the back here. This is another good point. You can still deploy siege weapons. If you're going to do a secondary defense, do not put that siege weapon there. Why? Because your troops will continue to man it even after you run away from the walls. And what that means is they will suicide and run right into the enemy Zerg trying to man the siege tower. The AI doesn't understand if you don't control the outer walls anymore. Get these fucking guys off the wall. What is this, the 6th, the 7th? Another little point I can talk to you about in a second, but the AI doesn't understand if you don't have the walls, you can't man the siege towers. It'll suicide guy after guy after guy as they try to man that siege weapon. Now, these guys were being disobedient. A lot of times guys are like, my archers won't do what I told them to. What the fuck? I'm trying to do what you're telling me to do, tactical enlightenment, and my guys are doing whatever they want. Sometimes the AI takes over. It'll put archers wherever the fuck it wants, and it's doing that because it thinks you don't know what you're doing, right? It just, like politicians, it assumes we're stupid, and it just takes over. tell that division to line formation first, right? That is F2, F1, and then you want to pull that unit back to you. Now I'm going to pull a few guys off of that division because we're probably going to beat feet here sooner than later. So that's an important thing. If your troops won't obey you and you're in charge, put them in line formation first and then pull them back. If they still don't go where you want them to, I don't know what to tell you. A few guys have said they have that problem. I presume it's a bug. All right, so the enemy troops are programmed, triggered to charge when that siege tower arrives. And here they come. There's a huge block of infantry coming. Let's see what happens here, right? We've got an archer division and a mixed division of archers and skirmishers. Now, if they start pouring through, I will charge with this division, right? This division will have these guys attack, but it's a very suboptimal situation, right? And the first 10 seconds are critical. It does look like they're going to magnetize to the square for the most part. And our skirmishers are raking. They're starting to pour in the hole. That's disconcerting. But that's manageable. Like that would maybe work for the rest of the siege. It's a lot of troops pouring through. And like I said, like the gate, they will not always attack your square. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and break troops off. I want to show you this secondary defense. We'll do it mid-battle here. This is much, much harder. In fact, if this fails, we'll probably do it again. I'm a stubborn fuck, so I don't like losing. Let's go ahead and get 3 archer divisions back. You notice the enemy's pouring through here, right? You got to have the composure to just shove a square right into the hole, and that'll buy us 30 or 45 seconds, right? That basically gives the enemy a distraction while the rest of our troops beat feet. Now, that side over there on the right is blown open. This fucking dipshit's going to interfere with my plans here. Fucking insolent infantrymen. But I think enough of our troops have pulled back here to have a shot. We've got about 140, maybe 160 troops here. Now, they're in my way. What do you do if they're in your way and you try and do this? Tell them to retreat. That'll have them go all to the main citadel. Now, right away, you need to pull these guys back because retreat, they will run away and exit the battlefield, right? And you'll lose. Make sure you reorder them after they retreat. I just did that so that I could get up here and actually see. If you can't see these stairs to put archers like this, then it's not going to work. So the archers basically get spread out in big sprays on the stairs up there, right? You don't want them in a shield wall where they can't shoot. The other component of this, and there's 3 components really, we'll see if we have enough troops for a reserve, is you want squares with about a 10 to 15 foot gap between them. This is, shit, we have a problem here. Because I had a bunch of those infantrymen retreat, they're now coming back and jamming up our highway here. They're jamming up the archers. I basically made a traffic jam. In fact, I'm going to sit up here. You guys are fucking with my plan. The enemy's coming in here and our square is nowhere near ready. So that's another good point, right? You want to have a little bit of time to pull this off. This is why I said it might be better to do this in a predetermined manner. To have this siege be something you were planning from the get-go to do like this. And I can just tell you right now, if I had to defend this siege, say it was like a gaming championship with 10 of the subscribers and we were playing for $10,000 prize, we would defend this inner courtyard. Now, of course, real players would just try to pour through. It would be a totally different battle. The point, though, is that I'm almost certain this is going to be more successful than defending the gate. Now, maybe not this try, because it's been very messy. Our guys are still filtering up to the square. I don't have near as many archers positioned as I wanted to, and there's a huge amount of enemy forces that are built up here. Also, the archers are just not, I think, again, they're getting in each other's way. We basically have a little bit of a traffic jam. I'm a little bit stressed because I don't like fucking losing, even though this means absolutely nothing. I also don't like looking like a dipshit, being like, hey, this is going to work, and then I get fucking killed. Now, we have a few archers here that are helping me, and this is a good idea as well, to have a line of either skirmishers or archers backs to the walls against this little wood pile over here. And that gives you even more archer spray into these false gaps. Now, my squares are being shoved around, partly because they didn't get positioned correctly first. The enemy's bringing up skirmishers. It's not optimal, but look at the death span, right? Even though this is very messy, this is not optimal. We're still getting, a 7-8, a 6-to-1, 8-to-1 kill ratio, and it may be just enough to win this. Even though we didn't kill any enemies basically at the gate, almost none. and it's very messy here. It's still, there's a whole lot of green over there, ain't there? You can just watch the death spam, and it's just fizzing enemy deaths. Now, I would have a shock troop division to charge here behind me if we were doing this for money and we had to have this siege defense. I would have done it from the outset. And I think, you know what, instead of just talking the talk, we'll walk the walk. After this, I mean, I guess unless this succeeds, I don't think it's going to succeed. It's very messy. This square is deeper than I want it to be. Either way, actually, we'll just do this from the outset. It's nothing but time. You can always stop watching if you don't want to see it. Although that helps. The enemy just pulled back. They're reforming to join their archers in the next charge. We've got a very brief 30 seconds here to reorder our lines. Let's steal a few here. I got to thicken up these divisions just a little bit. The AI is not retreating. You can tell from the power bar they have plenty of troops left. Almost certainly they're coming back. What they're doing is they reorder and regroup when archers come up with them. The rest of the archers are coming up. It's still tenuous. I can't quite get that group of guys pegged against the wall because they're being attacked. But let's fight this out. Let's see how it goes. And if this fails, I will show you a recipe from the get-go. Some pretty good archer fire there. I don't have a shock troop division, though, to attack the rear. That's a problem. That's something we'll adjust for the second battle. And I don't have near as many archers set up, nor do I have an auxiliary division of archers down here as well. I have no backup squares. But it's still fizzing green, right? You can see how this is a problem for the AI. Now, what do you do if the AI charges your center here? Just like the gate, you shove one of these squares right into the face of all those archers, and that'll severely decrease how many troops are coming in. Right now, we want them coming in, right? They're being mass executed, just like that guy. I'm up here and I have hardly any skill at swinging a one-handed weapon. All these kids online, you guys have 10 times my reflexes. If I can do this shit, I know you guys can. I'm just up here just swinging my sword, right? And you're just helping. Now that square's breaking down. In a second, we can steal a few, but that's going to steal archers. If your squares start breaking down, you have to refill them, right? You have to get them set up again. And maybe, just maybe, the 60 archers are enough, but I don't think so. Again, the few mistakes we made at the beginning, the log jam, that might doom us here. But hopefully by now you guys get the general idea. Now the archers coming up in big fizzes like that is a problem because we don't have many archers to counter shoot them. But ranged false gap is the tactical term for this. The infantry false gap is where you have a similar situation with infantry and then shock troops and or strong infantry to attack. As the enemy attacks those two sides, you basically get flanks on both divisions. You can't really do that here, right? You can't rely on shock troops to take out 3, 4, 5 times your number here as I get the beat down. I told you I have no skill. As you know, you're not going to be able to get the kind of kill ratio you need. With a ranged false gap, though, maybe, right? We take our anger out here on these fucking assholes. You know what? We'll do a little bit of editing, and I'll be right back. Recording again, and we're going to do this from the outset. We're going to do a double breached wall, though, right? But basically a disastrous situation. We've been pounded down. Let's do even less troops here just to show you my confidence that this will work. Now, we're going to do this from the outset, right? I mentioned before, you know, it's better if this is your plan to do it from the outset. Much harder to do it in a siege. You could do it in a siege if you have a lot of troops, right? Say it's a really big battle and you have 1,200 troops. If you have enough troops to set the positions up, to get your archers on those, on the stairs, on the ramparts, then maybe you got a shot at doing a transitional siege defense. But here, especially with the custom battle menu, we're using recruits. We've got militia in our army. Your infantry squares tend to melt so quickly. You really want to commit to this type of decision from the get-go. So we're going to do that here. I've got a skirmisher division, the second, a shock troop division, the third, and then 2 very strong infantry divisions. Let's do this, boys. Come get some, right? I can't wait to fucking throttle the enemy here. I'm a competitive, stubborn alpha male. I don't fucking like losing, especially to an inept, incompetent AI. They're making me look bad in this episode, so we're going to teach them a good lesson here. Let's get archers up here before, and it gives you a second opportunity to see exactly what I would do. That's about the distance you want, right? That's line formation. They can be spread, but then they're a little bit They're kind of all over the place. Line formation works. Just keep in mind, not every single archer will shoot, right? You can do a little bit of spread and a little bit of line formation. And I like to have 3 or 4 divisions. That way, if I want to move one, or if one is too close, you can obviously move them around. If you have one division here, it's a lot more difficult to align it. Don't forget, too, we have our crossbow division, and that is purposeful so that we can steal those shields and put those shields into a square if we need to, right? We've got contingency plan upon contingency plan. Let's stick the 2nd corps in there for now, the 3rd corps back there, and now we're ready, right? Whoops, except I have, what is this, the 6th. Oops, I thought I put you guys on the stairs. Get up there, boys. All right, let's do this shit. No excuses this time, right? Move these squares a little closer. We'll get them designed exactly like we want. We have 2 backup divisions reserve unit, and let's commence the massacre. So far, so good, right? I like the look at that. That looks like a stock market I would invest in. It's just fizzing green as fast as it can. Now, we'll bring this 2nd division up here. These are skirmishers. These guys can be told to fire their javelins. We'll add their carnage to the midst here, and the enemy is being massacred. Now, I've got more levers to pull here, right? I've got these 2 squares. That's why I'm running this so fast. I've got 2 things I can do right away. The first thing I can do is I can bring this 3rd division, this attack dog division, to the back where they're kind of leaking through and have those guys a charge. I don't want them in the way of our archers. I just want them attacking the side there, so they're now mauling their way into the enemy. As soon as they enter the fray and you can actually see them, pull them back. Right? In fact, here goes the enemy again resetting. I'm so confident we can just do this at the fastest speed. I've got this 2nd division here too. I can fatten up the squares. We can use the 6th division to fatten up the squares as well. What is that? I think we've got, you know what I forgot? Our catapult guys over there. He got off a round or 2. He's still shooting. I don't even know where he is, but there's some guy on a catapult over there unloading. That's hilarious. Anyways, I get distracted. Squirrel. But you can now see, right? We vindicate ourselves here from that sort of disastrous first attempt. And I like it, though, because it does show you that transitional siege defense is more difficult. I would prefer to have a planned secondary defense. In a really big, long, epic siege, you might want to do you might be forced into a secondary defense. But here, just a defense from the outset, and what a fucking massacre, right? I can just fling some javelins here at 3x speed, show how skilled I am. Skill, right? And then the enemy dies, right? The enemy is completely plastered here. And we've got this 3rd division we can attack with. I think we can even just charge and force the enemy out of our city by brute force at this stage. We might have 100 losses. And this is, let me mention this key point. If you have 2 holes in the walls in a city like this is for sure going to be easier than trying to defend all 3 locations. The front gate, 2 holes. The enemy's going to be overwhelming your defenses. But right now, the enemy only has 1 way in here, right? In fact, let's charge these bitches right out of our city. This is our city, you fucks. Charge. We'll just blow them right the fuck out of our city. In fact, I'm going to get some angry blows in here. This fucking obstinate AI, there's like 30 guys holding out. Fuck you guys. Now I'm out for blood. See, I have such low self-esteem that I got to take my anger out on these digital fucking units. Fuck you. You little Imperial fucks. Interrupt my plans and make me look bad on YouTube. Is this the commander? You're dead. I want her. She's mine. A cut down L tilde or whatever stupid fucking name, and we've been blessed, right? You get an idea there. That was perfect. Actually, you know, I mean, like I said, the old saying, failure is just an opportunity to do better next time, right? Failure is just experience that makes you better for the future. So right, there you go. You have the defense of Poros, all kinds of different ways and perspectives. We're going to do all the different positions here like a porn star. Wrap this episode up. Now, I hope you guys appreciated that episode. Of course, come to the channel if you want to see more siege defense. We're uploading more and more siege defense guides for the fellas on Patreon. Please hit that like button, friends, and I will see you next time.